Welcome to Act on Mental Health. My name is Sean Hardy, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now, on this channel, I talk about acceptance and commitment therapy. So whether you're an individual looking to improve your mental health, a graduate student thinking that ACT might be a good treatment modality for you, or if you're in practice like me and you want to become more proficient in ACT, this is the channel for you. Now, I'm excited because we're launching a new series today called ACT for Couples. And so whether you're in a relationship and you're wanting to work through some things, or if you're a single person looking toward your future relationship, or you're a therapist interested in integrating ACT into your couples work, I think you're going to get a lot out of this series. Throughout this series, I'll be drawing from Russ Harris's insightful book, Act with Love, which provides practical tools and exercises to navigate the complexities of relationships. Now, this won't just be a series where I'm talking at you, but you and I are going to experience ACT for Couples through interactive exercises, metaphors, and take-home activities that you can download and print for yourself. So you can watch this series alone, with your spouse, or you can share the videos that resonate most with your relationship. So let's dive in, and we're going to see how ACT can transform your relationship. So what exactly is ACT? Acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, is a powerful approach developed by psychologist Stephen Hayes in the 1980s and has been gaining traction ever since. It's grounded in the idea of psychological flexibility, which we'll talk about more here in a moment, which involves being open to our thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them, and then committing to actions that align with our values. In the context of relationships, ACT helps you do a couple things. It helps you to accept your partner's differences, but also your thoughts about your partner and your feelings towards your partner. Helps you to manage your difficult emotions and then take effective actions guided by your values. Now, according to Russ Harris in his book, Act with Love, relationships are both wonderful and challenging, and ACT offers practical tools to navigate these complexities. Harris writes, relationships can give us the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, send us soaring into the stratosphere on wings of love, or drop us from on high to splat in the mud. That's a great description of relationships and what the experience of being in love is like. Now, this series will guide you through your understanding and applying of ACT principles in your relationships, helping you develop skills to handle the inevitable ups and downs that will come. Psychological flexibility is at the heart of ACT, and this is an important concept to know. It's all about being present, opening up to your emotions, disentangling from unhelpful thoughts, and taking committed action based on your values. Now, when you're psychologically flexible, you can adapt to the challenges in your relationship more effectively. It's not to say that problems won't come, but you'll be able to see the options that you have instead of just being, automatic in your responses. Now, on the other hand, psychological inflexibility can lead to rigid thinking, avoidance of difficult emotions, and behaviors that undermine your relationships. For instance, if you get stuck in a negative thought about your partner that you just can't shake, or if you hold unrealistic expectations of that person, it can create significant tension. Harris explains this concept beautifully in his book, highlighting how inflexibility can sabotage even the strongest relationships. He writes, "Truth is, there's no such thing as the perfect partner, just as there's no such thing as the perfect couple." Now, no matter how great they look on the outside or on their social media, people have problems if they're in a relationship. It may be helpful if I share an example from my own experience as a couples counselor. I once worked with a couple who were pretty inflexible in several areas that may seem small from the outside, but from the inside, it was tearing the relationship apart. They struggled with feelings of betrayal, jealousy, and hopelessness, which led them to try to control each other to avoid getting hurt. Through ACT strategies such as acceptance of one another just as they are, and acceptance of their own thoughts and feelings, and learning to notice when they were getting flooded and fused, they gained the flexibility that resulted in strengthened bonds and commitment. They leaned into their pain and discovered their values, why they care so much that they're willing to try to control the other partner. By letting go of the need to change or control each other, they learned to love each other again. This transformation showed them the freedom to love unconditionally, which is a core aspect of psychological flexibility. Developing psychological flexibility will help you navigate your relationship challenges more effectively and create a more resilient relationship. Now we're going to get into a practical exercise to enhance psychological flexibility. This exercise is inspired by Act with Love and involves keeping a thought journal. Now, over the next few days, I encourage you to write down your thoughts about what's wrong with your relationship or your partner. Now, I want to set this up because this may sound like you're judging your partner, but I'm assuming you're already having these thoughts or you're already having these feelings. So this is just capturing these negative thoughts. So you're going to do three things. First, you're going to identify negative thoughts. So whenever you're having a negative thought about your partner or relationship, write them down in this journal. Be as specific as possible. Try to capture the whole phrase. Second, reflect on impact. At the end of each day, reflect on how these thoughts influenced your mood and interactions with your partner. And third, analyze patterns. After a few days, look for patterns in your thoughts and how they affect your relationship. Are these thoughts helpful or harming your relationship? Harris suggests that by doing this exercise, it'll help you to become more aware of your thought patterns and their impact, which is the first step toward developing greater psychological flexibility. Now you can download this. The link will be in the description below. It's a free worksheet on Russ Harris's website. By identifying and reflecting on these thoughts, you can start to see how they influence your mood and interactions, and you can begin to disrupt these negative patterns. It may be helpful for the visual learners to give a visual image of psychological flexibility. Now think of psychological flexibility like a palm tree in a storm. Palm trees are designed to weather almost any storm. They bend but rarely break thanks to their flexibility and deep roots. Now this reminds me of a verse from Psalms. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. This verse beautifully illustrates the qualities of a strong and flexible relationship. Palm trees are flexible and can bend with the wind without breaking, symbolizing how we need to be adaptable and open in our relationships. Cedars, on the other hand, are known for their stability and unmovable resolve, representing the strength and stability needed in committed relationship with our values. Here are a few additional tips to enhance your psychological flexibility in relationship. And if one of these would be helpful, maybe just write it down and maybe take action on this. The first is to practice self-compassion. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but it's really easy for me to practice compassion toward others and try to alleviate their suffering. But when it comes to myself, well, that's a little backwards. It feels odd, like I'm just expecting somebody else to kind of notice my suffering and help me. But a lot of times I'm by myself and there's nobody to help me, and I just kind of sit in my misery. So if you're like me, it might be helpful to practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when you notice your rigid thinking, when you notice these negative thoughts towards your partner. Recognize that it's a common human experience and gently guide yourself back to more flexible thinking. You're going to be a much better person if you're kind to yourself. The second tip is to use mindful awareness. So this means paying attention to the present moment without judgment. This helps you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings and less reactive to them. Kind of helps you keep your calm in the midst of the storm. The third tip here is to set realistic expectations. Accept that both you and your partner are imperfect people. You're an imperfect couple. Embrace these imperfections as part of your unique relationship dynamic. You're imperfect, but there's also nobody else like you and your partner. So that's pretty great. So set realistic expectations, like what is reasonable in this relationship. To recap today, I introduced the concept of ACT and its application to relationships. We explored the importance of psychological flexibility and started with a thought journal exercise to help you identify and reflect on your thought patterns. Remember, developing psychological flexibility is key to navigating relationship challenges effectively. In our next episode, we'll dive deeper into mindfulness and values, two core components of ACT that can transform your relationships. I'll guide you through the practice of mindfulness exercises and activities to identify and live by your values. If you like the content so far in this series and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and like and comment and share. It really helps this channel to get to other people like you and me that are learning ACT and want to use it in their life or in their practice. Remember, your journey towards a more purposeful and mindful life begins with a single click.